Hello there, I'm Adam, your head of dark bargains here at BlampCo Incorporated, dancing with the devil in the pale moonlight since 2015. And this is How Adam Would Book, where I craft alternate wrestling realities and challenge wrestling promotions to do them better. This time around, I have been commissioned on my Patreon by the extraordinary man who does extraordinary things, Danny Winters, to book Finn Bálor, World Champion, which is a surprisingly big ask, not just because he's got the nickname Pin Bálor for a reason, but also because looking back on Finn's decade-long career in WWE, he's been around for so long, and yet I don't think I know anything about him. He's Irish. And he's a demon. See, when he first appeared on the main roster back in 2016, he was the hottest property in wrestling for about a month. He was drafted super high, he beat Roman Reigns clean on Raw, yeah, fucking remember that. Introduced his demon gimmick, then called the Demon King. It was originally called the Demon in NXT, and then they upgraded him to the Demon King on Raw. And honestly, I've been playing Elden Ring, and Demon King, that's fine. That's a perfectly cromulent nickname. Then he beat Seth Rollins at SummerSlam to become the first ever Universal Champion. Fucking love that belt, mate. However, during that match at SummerSlam, Finn tore his labrum after a buckle bomb to the barricade and would relinquish the title 24 hours later on Raw, creating one of the great what-if timelines in wrestling history. Because after he returned from injury, he remained a perpetual upper mid-carder, and he never won a world title ever again. And the NXT Championship, by WWE's own admission, doesn't count. For the rest of his career, at least until he became part of the Judgment Day in 2022, Finn just drifted around, occasionally smiling, occasionally frowning, and never really being part of any significant storyline, despite always feeling kind of like a big deal. Just not quite as big a deal as he should be. See, for a while, WWE's peculiarly cloth-eared marketing team dubbed Finn the extraordinary man who does extraordinary things. And that makes no fucking sense for a number of reasons, all of which we're about to go into right now. See, if a man does extraordinary things, he is an extraordinary man, as Rachel Dawes would say.
It's what you do that defines you.
So right there's a tautology. You don't need the second part of that statement. He's just an extraordinary man. The only reason to repeat parts of the phrase would be to create an effect through difference. For example, the ordinary man who does extraordinary things. That's your typical Clark Kent Superman contrast, the kind of character that Finn had. He was normal Finn until you pushed his buttons, and then he digivolved into Skull Balamon. It's a dark digivolution. How could you be so reckless, Ty? So the ordinary man, extraordinary things tagline works, because then it makes sense why you'd give us the extra information of the second part of the phrase. But under Vince, you couldn't have anyone be referred to as ordinary. They're all superstars. So not only did he become the extraordinary man who does extraordinary things, but because that was such a fucking mouthful to say and sound so unnatural, Michael Cole ended up constantly pronouncing it the extraordinary man who does extraordinary things. And extra hyphen ordinary is hugely different from extraordinary. So now Finn is an extraordinary man who does things that are very ordinary. WWE, 25th anniversary of WrestleMania. Like, not ordinary things, extraordinary things, which actually emphasizes how crushingly fucking boring Finn is. Like if Clark Kent had all of Superman's abilities, but spent every issue of the comics doing his fucking taxes and spent every night navigating the 8 tabs on his internet browser because he's trying to work out exactly the right kind of TV to buy. It's not a decision you can rush into, whilst he's also listening to the best of the Dave Matthews Band, and who needs individual albums? It's called the best of for a reason, on a portable CD player that he won't upgrade to an iPod Nano because that's too much choice. Thank you very much. I've wasted a lot of time on this, but the general point is that for the last 10 years, WWE have pretty much failed at making a fantastic technical wrestler who occasionally dresses like a creature out of fucking hell into a cohesive and interesting character. Now, to be fair, part of that is down to the fact that Finn's never really been a good promo, and we all just have to make our peace with that, okay? By his own admission, he never actually had to cut any promos on the indie circuit or New Japan before making it to WWE, so basically he had to learn when he first arrived at the Performance Center in 2015. And even though he's technically gotten better over the years, I think you would be hard-pressed to call his promos good. Exhibit A.
You want a world champion level opponent? Sounds like you're talking about me.
Exhibit B.
But I've stared fear in the eyes before. I didn't back down then, and I'm not gonna back down now.
And Exhibit C.
There'll be no new members. I'm gonna fix things around here. I'm gonna beat Seth next week. I'm gonna go on and win the Elimination Chamber.
Like, they're fine. They're fine. It's a good wrestler cutting fine promos, but they're not exactly jammed with personality. Instead, he's ping-ponged from one bit of branding to the next without it ever really revealing anything beyond which t-shirt they're currently trying to sell. Those brands make allusions to his history and allusions to part of his personality. Bálor Club refers to the fact that he, fucking founded Bullet Club in 2013, the coolest, most indie-rific fashion at the height of Indie Mania, and he's also occasionally Mr. Gay in his amazing WrestleMania friends. But beyond that, none of these gimmicks have actually resulted in any significant storylines. Like, he did form Bálor Club, but it was with Gallows and Anderson. They didn't really do anything. He never fought the Bullet Club, Bálor Club war, really. He's a man who wore a leather jacket. Then occasionally was a demon, and then he got a purple bandana as the whitest member in a team of smelly goths. And to be the whitest member in a team that includes Liv Morgan, that's saying something, sir. Ever since he first whacked the paint on, I believe in New Japan, he's almost been too marketable for his own good, being relied upon to occasionally do some highly commercialized cosplay and then let his character otherwise be good wrestler until he's called upon to shift more face paint and head belts. And even when we're talking about the Demon, WWE put the final nail in the coffin of that character back at Extreme Rules 2021 when they booked him to flop on the floor like nautical nonsense was something he wished, and then fall off the top rope because maybe God or his opposite, Vince McMahon. Now, to be fair, the best version of Finn has existed, and a really good, okay, I kind of see who you are. When he was the Prince in NXT, he went down there after his happy-go-lucky smiley guy was killed by The Fiend. He went down to NXT in 2019. He won the championship, mostly by being a good wrestler who'll kick your fucking head in like Captain fucking New Japan. And that was excellent. But that's about it. It's not to say he's had a bad career. He's technically a Grand Slam champion, having been a one-time world champion, an IC champion, a US champion, a seemingly eternal tag team champion, all of which without ever feeling like he's quite made it, having that one defining world title run, if that's how you as a wrestling fan, quantify someone as having made it. But that is why Danny Winters has commissioned me over on patreon.com/Adam Blompier to give him that world championship run. And since WWE seems like they're no longer interested in doing so, I can do it better. So first things first, this is not a rebooking of Finn in 2016 if he'd never gotten injured. That is a super interesting concept, but it's not the one I've been hired to make. Also, booking around real-life career-altering injuries makes me feel a bit ho-hum in my tum-tum. So my job here is to revitalize Finn Balor enough to win a world title, and faith in Begorra, that's a tall feck in order. And yes, I'm going to try and keep a lid on the Irish jokes, because the Irish, historically, hate the English, even though it's worth reminding everyone, I am not English. I'm not. My surname's as French as you can get without literally being called a ha-e-ha-e-ha. I'm from Jersey, so yes, I'm technically British, but then again, so are the Irish. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Oh my God, I'm kidding. Point is, as a Brit, ever since, Cromwell, people who sound like me having de crack and doing a bit of the old Paddy. It's not the best look, so I'm just going to get it all out of the way early and say, I'm Finn Balor, I'm a David, fiddle-de-tum-ti-ti-ti-too. And that'll be that. No harm done. It's no harm done, is it? There's no harm. There is no harm done. So we start on the road to SummerSlam 2025. I'm going to have to rewrite a few things, which is kind of... Actually, you know what? Maybe I don't. Because I was going to take Roxanne Perez out of this whole thing. Because right now the focus of Judgment Day stuff is likely going to be Roxanne Perez acting as the cuckoo in the nest, brought in by Finn to essentially entrap Dom into proving that despite promising to be Liv's man, he's got that endless dog in him and will risk it all for any shorty who steps to him with tendies. And let me tell you, to make sure that I used it correctly, Googling shorty definition as I wrote this in a public library is about the whitest thing I've done outside of owning 250 board games. So it seems like WWE is either trying to reset Dom to heel by having him betray Liv like he betrayed Rhea, or turn Finn heel in an attempt to break up the Judgment Day using nefarious psychological tactics. Now let's go with option 2 for this one, because honestly it is a coin flip for me at this point as to whether I'd rather Dom stay heel because he's so good at it and being a chicken shit champion is fun, or if it's better to just go with the tide and have him evolve into an actual fighting champion who, you know what, learned his lesson, is gonna straighten up and fly right. The second one involves less character regression, so let's go with that. So Dom in this booking actually resists Roxanne Perez's advances, the plot is exposed, and Finn blindsides Dom, smashing him repeatedly with his IC title and then screaming at the fans, "You're supposed to hate him, not me. He's Dominic Mysterio. I'm Finn Balor. You love me. You love me. You've always loved me. You've always wanted what's best for me. How could you cheer for Dominic Mysterio?" Before the match at SummerSlam, Finn cuts a quiet promo. "I didn't destroy Judgment Day. It was destroyed the moment that Dom became the main character. See, for the last 3 years, I needed Judgment Day the most. I needed it more than Edge. I needed it more than Rhea. I needed it more than Damien. That family was the only thing keeping the demon at bay." Paused to hear the crowd react to, "I recognize that. That's from the past." He looks around and he says, "You think you want the demon back, but trust me, you don't, because you've never really seen him. I used to wear the paint when I needed to, then I wore it when they wanted me to, until it meant nothing to me. But here's the thing, the paint, that was never the demon. At SummerSlam, I take the Intercontinental title, I take the Judgment Day back, and the demon can stay locked away for good." So at SummerSlam, Dom beats Finn to retain the IC title, cement his babyface turn. After the match, Balor kneels in the ring as the lights flicker and slowly begin to turn out one by one. See, at SummerSlam 2019, Balor was squashed by the debuting Fiend. At SummerSlam 2025, the Wyatt Six come down to the ring. They've just returned. That's current. We like the Wyatt Six. Uncle Howdy stands in front of Finn, holds out his arms before embracing him in a hug. And then the family take turns beating Finn Balor to within an inch of his life. They pick him up and carry him out of the arena. The Wyatt Six are going to go a bit heel here because they are a family of monsters. I understand that they are a tribute act to a beloved dead wrestler, but I also would quite like them to be psychological monsters rather than just, you know, the oddities. Balor is not seen for a long time, and Bo talks about why they've taken him. The Six is a monument, a tribute to a man who held the whole world in his hands, man. Balor once held the entire universe in his hands. but it slipped through his fingers. The Six are going to help him get it back. See, the Wyatt Six is made up of differing aspects of Bray Wyatt's long continuity in wrestling. Real life representations of puppets, which are themselves avatars of the Firefly Funhouse, which are also representations of the different stages of Bray's career. It's, in a sense, the Wyatt Six are a tribute to a tribute. They're a warped reflection of an already shattered mirror created and molded by the ultimate id. At the center of it all, Uncle Howdy. Dexter Loomis represents Mercy the Buzzard. Joe Gacy is Huskus the Pig Boy. Nikki Cross's sister Abigail. Eric Rowan is Rambling Rabbit. But in the end, there is no one in the Wyatt Six who truly represents the Fiend. That horrific demon laying buried deep beneath the surface. Before, they were five, but with Finn Balor, the real Finn Balor, they'll finally be the Wyatt Six, as opposed to the Wyatt Six. The Wyatt Six. As the Wyatts start to run riot on Raw and SmackDown, Bo rekindles a feud with the now career-rejuvenated Killer Kross. Yes, change his name from Karrion Kross to Killer Kross. Because Killer is cool and Karrion is like rotting desert meat in the sun. It's a different level of cool, I imagine. Seriously though, that promo he cut after WrestleMania, if you haven't seen it, you are missing out. Killer Kross's puppet master shtick could really come together if they let it. So yeah, the feud's going to involve a lot of him. As this happens, WWE are mailed a constant stream of VHS tapes featuring Finn Balor in an undisclosed location being monologued at by Uncle Howdy, Bo Dallas, and occasionally subjected to horrific tortures to try and activate that true demon, not the face-painted jester, the one who sleeps. This slowly builds to Survivor Series, and like it would appear, all of my bookings involves a War Games match. It happens to be in all of them so far or something like that. I don't know. Look, if they make a War Games match compulsory every year, I'm gonna make my story revolve around it because War Games matches are great. But also, this is a War Games match that doesn't actually have to completely swallow the main event scene, so there's double points there. Killer Kross puts together a team to stop the Wyatts, consisting of Killer Kross, AJ Styles, Ilya Dragunov, Aleister Black and Rusev versus the team of Uncle Howdy, Eric Rowan, Joe Gacy, Dexter Loomis, and you'll just have to wait and see. It's Road Dogg again. Match starts off with Howdy versus Killer Kross, two men leading their armies of lost souls, people who've wandered from the path during their careers and need to find a dark cause to rally behind, something to give them purpose. Soon, everyone is in the ring apart from the final member of the Wyatts, and for a while, no one comes. Just build attention, keep building it. Carnage happening in the ring. The Wyatts are outnumbered and outgunned until finally the lights flicker and begin to go out one by one. Smoke fills the arena as a symbol flashes onto the Tron. 3 spirals, the Triskelion. One spiral meaning birth, one meaning rebirth, one meaning death. A creature crawls out of the darkness. The figure stands to reveal a man covered in paint to look like his chest is torn open, like something has clawed his way free. A figure with a black mask, like Black Mask. A mask that looks like a horrible carved skull. The 3 spirals, birth, rebirth, and death. This is the birth of Fiend Balor. Now, some of you will be asking, Adam, is the entirety of this booking just done so that you could make that pun? And the answer is yes, because fuck you in particular. The truth is, you only wish you could spend 20 minutes monologuing to literally tens of people, all leading up to a thin bit of wordplay and have it somehow earn you a living wage. Fucking Fiend Balor. I don't care. I'm sticking with it. Point is, Fiend Balor is a revamp of Finn focusing on all the things he does best and hiding all the things he does worst. Best, his explosive offense, his aura, his ability to convince entirely with his physicality as someone who's taken themselves to a place of near possession. And worst, occasionally his facial expressions, which make him seem more like a cat or the fucking Nightman than a demon, and the fact that he's still not very good at talking. See, Fiend Balor is a silent weapon of pure, horrible violence, and for that to really ring true, he never takes off that mask. So you never know what he's thinking when he's in the ring, which is so much fucking scarier than going, meow. He also needs a new move. Now, the best wrestling monsters, when they've been booked to be invincible, especially if they weren't invincible before, they need a new move that not only looks horrific, but also actually writes people off TV for a while. Mark Henry breaking ankles for the Hall of Pain, Pentagon Jr.'s arm breaker in Lucha Underground, Randy Orton's punt, Brock Lesnar's Kimura lock. And now, Fiend Balor will need something truly horrific, which he brings out to scare people. And to be honest, I think you can just tweak the coup de grace by having it be done to someone with a chair wrapped around their neck. Just as long as it's a new move that creates dread, because it writes someone out for a good few weeks, and also there's build up to it, grabbing the chair, putting it around the neck. That, genuinely, that kind of repetition, that fear, that anticipation, that is enough to make a monster in pro wrestling. So Balor bursts into the War Games match, hitting everyone with 1916s before finally wrapping AJ's head in a chair and delivering the coup de grace. After the match, AJ is not moving, and Finn just sits in one ring watching AJ's prone body in the other. The cage rises, the paramedics come down, the Wyatt Six try to get Balor to come away, but he refuses and hits Joe Gacy with a 1916 before sitting back down. And just watching AJ be carried out on a stretcher. And the question the commentators ask themselves and ask the audience is, does Uncle Howdy have any idea what he's just created? The next week on Raw, unmasked Finn Balor is seen wandering backstage with a glazed look in his eyes, being spoken to by Dallas. When people try to talk to Finn, he just stares, completely mute. His human side has almost been completely lobotomized by his treatment at the hand of the Wyatts. Dallas cuts cryptic interviews about what he's created. At the end of the day, he says, if you could control it, then it wouldn't really be a monster, now would it? Human Finn still competes in matches, and when the bell rings, he almost finally regains a sense of humanity, like a Pavlovian response. The Wyatt Six have basically robbed everything from him except what it is to be a wrestler. However, every time that Fiend Balor emerges, which is only going to be like 3 or 4 times like in half a year max, with his black skull mask and body paint, he is essentially turned upon the company by Uncle Howdy as a last resort weapon. Half the time, he ends up taking out members of the Six in and amongst the carnage. He is a double-edged sword. The family, as seen in creepy backstage promos, start to communicate their fears to Bo that when will Uncle Howdy or when will Bo Dallas realize that he can't hold a wolf by the ears forever? Sooner or later, he will loosen his grip and then everyone dies. At the Royal Rumble 2026, Killer Kross enters number 1 and ends up eliminating human Finn Balor before going on to become the Iron Man of the match. However, towards the end of the Rumble match, Fiend Balor emerges, throws Kross over the top rope, wraps a chair around Kross's neck on the outside, goes up to the top turnbuckle. Bo Dallas rushes down to beg Balor, don't do it. But Fiend Balor jumps over him onto Kross, crushing his neck. Kross is taken away by a medical team as that Rumble is eventually won by Bron Breakker. Seems like an inevitability. He's Batista, you see. Backstage, fear is starting to take control of the locker room. People start to target the Wyatt Six. Dexter Lumis is beaten within an inch of his life in front of Finn Balor, who just watches blankly. Everyone is too afraid to come near Finn, but screaming at Bo, you do something about Balor or we'll take out your whole family. We can't have this terror be unleashed backstage. Backed into a corner, finally Bo Dallas and his family call Finn Balor to the ring, and he just stares at them without any expression as Bo opens his arms for a hug, holds him close. They tell Finn they're sorry, but for the good of everyone, they need to put him down. And they beat him down as he just looks at them like he's not sure what's going on. like a trained dog whose masters have turned against him. But on the road to WrestleMania, the Wyatts start to be haunted by the ghost of the one they think they've exorcised, Fiend Bálor. The members are targeted, left beaten and bloody, as the Celtic symbol of the Triskelion is found daubed on the walls in red paint, or what looks like red paint. 3 spirals symbolizing birth, death, and rebirth. Death is coming for Bo Dallas. This leads to an unsanctioned match at WrestleMania 42, Uncle Howdy versus Fiend Bálor. Howdy agrees to one last stand, trying to banish what he's wrought upon his own family and his own self. It is a very, very violent match indeed. Eventually they fight to the outside, climb a scaffold, and Bálor lights on fire a stack of tables beneath them. Bálor holds out his arms for a hug, embraces Howdy, and they both plummet to the ground through the fire. People rush in immediately with extinguishers, and the match is called a no contest, with both competitors being unable to compete. Some of you may be wondering at this point, isn't this supposed to be a story about Finn Bálor becoming world champion? And yes, no, this is what the final part of the story is about. See, after 10 years of not really getting to grips with Finn's character, and a long while since he's actually looked anywhere near being a viable world champion, Finn needs a proper refresh. Now, I predicted Finn winning like the Intercontinental Championship back at WrestleMania, and people thought I was mental. That's how little aura the man had, and indeed has. So it's needed some work to get him back to being prepped and ready for a run like that. So the night one main event of WrestleMania 42 sees Bron Breakker beat Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship, and now we're building towards that match, Finn versus Breakker. And we'll get there using Killer Kross. See, Kross's gimmick, as we saw at Mania this year and beyond, has been trying to get people to embrace their dark side. He's sort of like a virus, infecting and corrupting those around him so subtly that he hasn't really gotten the credit for some of the best heel turns of the last few years. Or, you know, the internet is starting to slowly piece together the tangled web that he's been weaving. But the New Day, they tangled with him and went bad. Drew McIntyre got too close and was made sick with envy, self-hatred, and rage. Kross is still trying to work on Sami Zayn, and that might still work out. He's turned The Miz against R-Truth. But this time, between WrestleMania 42 and SummerSlam 2026, Kross is going to turn Finn Bálor face again, a more interesting face, someone who has fallen into being the worst version of themselves and has needed a puppet master to undo the damage wrought by another. Kross makes his return to the ring a few weeks after WrestleMania, after a Finn Bálor match, approaches him and hugs him. That's all there is. Everyone else is scared of Finn. The Wyatt Six haven't been seen as Bo Dallas is out hurt, but Kross makes that first connection to Bálor. Kross has taken men and robbed them of their positivity, but after having nearly his career ended by the monster that Uncle Howdy created, he sees it as his purpose to bring Finn back into the light, to use his powers of persuasion and his powers of incremental personality change for good. The two men team together for months, and whenever Finn goes to a terrible place, Kross hugs him. He won't let him go there, or at least won't let him go there alone. Eventually, Finn regains the power of speech, and Kross coaches him that even back then, the demon was never what made Bálor strong. Bálor was the demon when he tore his shoulder, wasn't he? At the sight of his greatest failure. Did the demon protect him then? No, because that's not what the demon is. He's Finn's greatest weakness, not his strength. With Kross's help, Finn starts to win and eventually makes his way to the finals of the King of the Ring 2026. What does Bálor mean? Kross asks him. What does Bálor mean? Tell me, what does Bálor mean? He's a demon king, Finn responds. You damn right, says Kross. Finn shows him the one new tattoo on his wrist, the last paint he'll ever need, the Triskelion. Birth, death, rebirth. This time, the rebirth of Finn Bálor. Finn Bálor becomes King of the Ring, punches his ticket to SummerSlam not as the Demon, not as Fiend Balor, but as himself. One last chance, 10 years after winning his first and only world title at SummerSlam 2016, he goes up against Bron Breakker for the World Heavyweight title and he wins. If I wanted to be really fucking heartless, I could say that Killer Kross turns on Finn immediately after SummerSlam, immediately after that match, targets his shoulder, that it was all one long revenge con, and that the two men fight the next night on Raw, and he goes after Finn's shoulder, and because of that, Finn instantly loses the belt to Kross, dropping it in 24 hours, exactly the way he dropped it to injury 10 years earlier. I cannot bring myself to do that. I just want you to know that I have thought of it. Thing is, after all of this, I just want Finn to get a chance to have a proper little run with the belt. It doesn't have to be a Cody year-long reign, just one that happens on his own terms and can end with him actually wrestling a couple of matches as World Heavyweight Champion. In fact, Danny Winters came up with a fun hook for Finn's actual title run. The idea that because of how his last one ended by injury and because he's 10 years older than when he first won it, he gets super paranoid about getting hurt again and starts refusing to wrestle, essentially taking the belt hostage and becoming a bit Howard Hughes about the whole thing. That's really fun. It's not my idea, that's Danny Winters' idea. But I am gonna leave the booking there. I'm gonna put the belt around Finn's waist one last time, and hopefully with it feeling fully earned. And that is how I would book Finn Balor becoming world champion one last time. Many thanks to Danny Winters for the commission over at patreon.com/Adam Blampied. If you'd like to commission, head on over there. What did you think? Let me know in the comments. I am Adam from BlampCo Incorporated. And until next time, get back to work.